This next section is going to come from the divine forces of the lunar nakshatras, as portrayed in the Vedas, and this is given by Radhe, who is the author who does a lot of wonderful research on all of the nakshatras and the deities, the classical deities coming from classical Vedic literature. Now, I have to say, every time I do these, that Radhe here is a sidereal nakshatra practitioner, which means we have to be careful when we read about her depiction of the Jyestha native, which usually means the moon, the Lagna, or some very important point, planet, whatever, is falling in Jyestha. You know, even the nodes, looking up especially Ketu. Ketu in nakshatra can be a very key part of ourselves. When we're reading about her depiction of the Jyestha native, we have to keep in mind that she's under the understanding that Jyestha falls into Scorpio. And so she will often mention qualities of Scorpio, and she can intercede them in here. These days, in the modern times, those of us practicing Tropical Vedic Astrology have to take what we hear and discern it for ourselves, sift it through our own digestive powers, take the germ of the essence of Jyestha, and make sure that we spit out the chaff of her interweaving of Scorpio energy into the narrative. Keep in mind, later on, I'm going to do another video talking about Indra as the deity of Jyestha, as an extra video that you'll be able to watch. I'm probably going to put an end screen that's going to point to it at the end. So this is Divine Forces of the Lunar Nakshatras as portrayed in the Vedas by Radhe. This is the Jyestha native. As I said, Jyestha native can come from having moon, Lagna especially, and also Ketu especially, but also just your Atmakarika, just any important point, even the Rahu Ketu Lord, falling in Jyestha. You're going to find the themes of the Jyestha native in your life. So this is the Jyestha native. Already, I'm questioning what she's saying here. Jyestha occupies one of the most powerful yet sensitive spaces in the stellar skies. Planets placed here hold extreme potential. The native may either attain great victories in life or fall victim to catastrophic life circumstances. Which extreme it will be is determined by the overall chart orientation, the nature of the Jyestha planet, the planetary yogas implicated, and so on. The only reason I said that is because Jyestha is, if it's in Scorpio, Scorpio is a sensitive place. You know, we have to consider our bias here always, right? Now, Indra's spirited, upbeat attitude towards adversities in life and his willingness to crusade on behalf of those less adept reflect the nobler side of Jyestha. Under the right chart conditions, this unstoppable Jyestha native is prudently daring, intelligently resourceful, and possessed of a can-do attitude. Yep, I got it. Let's do it. We're going to figure it out. Whatever it is, we're going to do it. Let's do it. You know, and I really relate to that. All these attributes befit a master reigning over a vast and prosperous country, an entrepreneur venturing into uncharted territories, an athlete competing in extreme sports, or a parent who, against all odds, provides for the protection and well-being of their family. With great power comes great responsibilities. The Jyestha individual embraces this motto. They like taking it on. They like being the person who takes on this responsibility because it's a reflection of the type of person who could wield it. Further, despite what may appear to be an all looks, no brain physicality, remember Indra's buffed body. It's funny. I'm into yoga. I'm into the buff body. I try to be there too anyway. So, despite what might appear to be an all-looks, no-brain physicality, the native has a penetrating mind and a passion for the mystical side of life. Hopefully I've conveyed that. On top of my buff body. If the native is beginning to sound a bit like Superman, who, sporting a red cape, let me read this for a moment. So she's referring to Christopher Reeve, who has sidereal important placements in his sidereal chart in Jyestha. And I'm going to skip it because she's coming from a sidereal perspective and I'm a tropical astrologer. That's what I've been doing for all these. Now, yet, there's a wide gulf between the sacrificial altar upon which all other nakshatra devatas are glorified, and the throne upon which Indra takes his seat, transported on the backs of the most exalted gods. Such power discrepancy can lead to corruption. Hence, under unfavorable chart conditions, violence calculated risk-taking, tyranny replaces benevolence, and excessive hoarding occurs in place of noble and generous booty sharing. Likewise, mental vigor and resourcefulness may end up as skilled manipulation. For okay, so we've heard this about Jyestha in general, so let's keep in mind this capacity for the skillful manipulation. But the author here refers to this as a quality coming from Scorpio, renowned for its secrecy and scheming. When describing the karma phala, the fruits of actions of Jyestha, the Markandeya Purana uses a single word, and that is dominance. So dominance is the fruit of action. It's interesting, does that mean that I'm the one dominating or that I'm the one getting dominated? In order to dominate, you gotta be in the struggle, and which means Jyestha, the fruits of his action is dominance, probably both ways, depending on the situation. It's probably something that Jyestha attracts in life, which I would say that I can speak to. I understand that back and forth in my own life. And then there is Indra's dependency on Soma, which he consumes unceasingly in an effort to support his perpetual state of exhilaration. This can be a metaphor for many things. Ideally, really, it's a metaphor for spiritual practice, doing spiritual practices, austerities, disciplines, and yoga in order to develop that water of the lightning bolt coming up the spine, signifying a higher consciousness. But how often does life's exhilaration really match that of the most celebrated, star-studded Rigvedic Devata? The big question for the native, for whom life may not be as grand as hoped, is whether to rely on spirituality for his high in life, or instead turn to external substances such as alcohol, psychotropic drugs, steroids, and so on. Take it with however many grains of salt you wish, but I am somebody who is interested in psychotropic drugs. You'll see me talking about them, psychedelics, as something of an interest in mine in my literature and my writing in time to come. It's important still for everybody to recognize that psychedelics, like all of the volatile qualities of Jyestha, can be a volatile method, of a rajasic method of expression and even exhilaration in this way. But it'll only ever be secondary to the power that comes from austerity and spiritual dedication and purpose. And it's important for Jyestha to have that recognition, no matter what. Although Indra truly adores his wife Indrani, his conquest-oriented "I want, therefore I deserve" mentality dominates every aspect of his life. So we can see how the native might be as notorious for his bedroom shenanigans as he is for his boardroom victories. Very interesting. As for other familial relationships, jealousy and competition, the footnote here is that Indrani was paranoid about losing Indra to rival wives. So Indra's wife, Indra being this person who loves to be regarded as this high status person, it's going to be painful and difficult for Indra's wife, Indrani, to deal with how many people want her position and status as being Indra's husband. So jealousy and competition, dysfunctionality, and even victimization may occur somewhere along the road in Indra's romantic life and in partnerships with other people, etc. Remember Indra's thwarted attempt to murder his own nephews, the Maruts. You hear a lot about that in this extra video, the stories about Jyestha. It's not surprising that Jyestha's jyotisha qualities are rakshasa, demonic, tikshna, sharp, and tamas, dark, or sort of lethargic in a way. Rather, it's fear and protection based, doing something because we have to. Plus, Jyestha occupies a gandanta in the gap position. Right, okay, so I knew that they were going to bring this up. Jyestha in the old Vedic tradition, again, is in the end of Scorpio. The Gandanta is the bridge between a water sign, Scorpio, and a fire sign, Sagittarius. So we're going to skip that because we know as Tropical Vedic astrologers that Jyestha Nakshatra doesn't have any set point in the tropical zodiac. Indra possesses many noble qualities, and so does the native. Certainly, the native is most likely to be an honest, intelligent, and responsible elder person who meets life's challenges with great fortitude. But the fact remains that Indra is the most over-the-top nakshatra devata ever. Hence, every now and then, and under supporting chart conditions, Jyestha has the capacity to produce a power-hungry and demanding ruler. I like the way that was put in the end. It seems most likely that Jyestha really is a protector and one who is a responsible and intelligent elder seeking for the betterment of everyone by being the person who is willing to do the difficult job of leading, making decisions, and serving the people by being this king. This is the nature of Jyestha at its best, and this is the potential for anyone with important placements in Jyestha if they have the ripe conditions to be a spiritual person for whom they can be a channel for the divine will, and do not treat their channel as power to be used for their own good at the expense of others. Everybody has the capacity to do this. I'm an optimist, I guess. The path of yoga and self-realization is probably the best way to get you there. All you need is love, folks. And, I hope to one day be an example of Jyestha Nakshatra gone right. Let's see if that ends up being the case, folks.